Hello, you are listening to the Wild Fern Weddings podcast. My name is Christian and I'm your host. The goal of this podcast is to interview other wedding couples and hear a little bit about their wedding decisions, whether that's things that they were super glad they did on their wedding day, things that they would do differently if they could go back, and what their biggest tips for current wedding couples planning their weddings are. So I try to keep these episodes pretty short. That way you can listen to them on your commute to work, grocery store, or any of those other short drives that you're fitting into this busy wedding planning season. So without further ado, here is Cody and Molly. And so let's just start with what was your favorite moment or the memory from y'all's wedding day together? And y'all can answer this together and individually.
I think we have the same answer on this. It's
Yeah.
pretty like obvious that the first look and reading our letters was undoubtedly the best part of the day.
For sure.
Yeah,
Did not expect Cody to cry, but like definitely
I
lost it.
did.
Love you did?
But
I loved it.
you might have been the only person in the building that wasn't expecting me to cry. But
I
Really?
told you
yeah,
we're emotional
yeah,
people.
yeah, I can't. I still to this day cannot watch the video without
Yeah,
bawling.
that's the
So
point of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's still our the most emotional first look that we've ever experienced. Like we loved it, and I loved how Asher was very intentional on like giving you guys 5 minutes after that to kind of like just soak it in too,
yeah,
um, because like that's just not a moment you want to rush. But
yeah.
were there
yeah.
any other moments that kind of come to mind when I asked that question too?
Um, well, I mean, his grandfather being our officiant, that was super special. I mean, that not many people can do that, and that was just, yeah, I think that was just very like, I don't know, that was great.
It
And
was.
then,
I mean, he's been a role model of mine all my life. So
yeah,
it was. I mean, it's not necessarily growing up as a guy, you don't necessarily plan moments out of your actual wedding, but
yeah,
that was up at the top of the list for me to have him there. Um, One thing that comes to mind for me is the morning of. It was like the calm before the storm. Like slowly people started rolling in. People were getting ready, and like I would walk by and peek out in the hallway, and I would see a bridesmaid run by, and they'd be like, "She looks so pretty." So
oh,
I remember all the times doing that. I remember hanging out with my groomsmen beforehand, and it
yeah,
like that moment right before leading up to that was special to me because after that it was hectic. After that,
yeah.
we had ceremony and then reception, and it was I guess the last calm moments before the rest of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it
then with
definitely.
my uncle Mike,
Yeah,
that was really special.
Yeah,
And that was just nothing that ever would have been that we ever could have planned or that ever would have been captured if it weren't for you. And just it's like all the stars aligned. It was just the right moment, the right time, and so that's just something that like for my family and I to will always cherish that, and like the same with his
yeah.
grandfather. So it's like very special components that just really
Put
sealed
the
in
day
the day.
put the day over the top.
Yeah,
yeah. On Cody's topic, I remember like yeah, it's almost stressful because like y'all are like the doors are completely opposite of each other, so it's like every time we're like stepping out, making sure no one's looking in, like looking out.
yeah,
And yeah, then on the topic of Mike was your uncle's name, right?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
like names. I'm always worried I'm gonna get them wrong, but like I don't think I'll ever
no,
forget that because like that moment was
yeah,
I just remember yeah setting up for the ceremony and like it just happened and then I was like Natalie like
yeah, I
going like,
know, yeah,
like set
yeah.
everything down and like
That's how
record.
I felt too. Yeah,
Yeah, that was we both were like pretty choked up in that moment. There was a
yeah,
it's funny because I think you kind of set the expectation like you're like it's gonna be a party like just like very like
yeah,
energetic and stuff and like it was just so emotional and then the party hit
yeah,
at like the reception and that's like I remember like the music choice was kind of a thing we were discussing and I was like hey
yes,
I think we might need to use like a more slow song it's like your
yes,
day was just so like heartfelt and emotional.
yeah, and yeah, you just don't even realize that. I mean, I think that just came out. We're just emotional people, and it's like, what you think versus reality. Like, that was just our reality. It's just an emotional day in the middle of
Yeah.
a pandemic.
And so I
And
know
you
you
did look
mentioned,
up.
what was that?
I was gonna say our music that for our video, like we
I
still play it to this day. Just the
I
track.
couldn't have picked a better song,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I as a bride, I felt like I was like nervous about that and wanted to be in control of that, and like I'm skipping ahead, but part of advice is to just trust you full heartedly because you know what you're doing, and nothing could have matched that to the day better than what you put it with. And so,
Very, very thankful
what
for
I
that.
was trying to do was not, I just didn't know. And so, what you did was perfect.
Yeah, well, you definitely knew what you're talking about when it came to the reception. I'll never forget that shot of it was you two, and I forgot it was a third person, but like Cody just like singing and like waving his arms up,
Yeah.
and like the reception was definitely the
We have
party
two
vibe.
speeds.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Reception was definitely the party vibe.
Yeah.
Um, and so you mentioned kind of, Cody like calm before the storm, and then like just kind of going fast through the rest of the day. Like, so looking back, kind of with that in mind, what things would you maybe have changed on the wedding day? Whether that's like, slowing the schedule down a little bit or anything that you didn't do that you wish you would have done, anything like that?
I think the first thing that come to mind for us was our send off. Like I guess we had the intentions of it being like mock send off, so we could still have like a group of people.
Hmm.
But once we did, it kind of like really set. I mean, that was kind of it for the night after we did that. We would have liked to, had a little bit longer at the reception with our other friends and family.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the first thing that come to mind.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just kind of a scheduling thing too. It's really hard to work that out, but yeah.
Are you saying like doing the mock exit kind of like l- told everyone like, hey, you can go home now?
I think
or
that we thought
I
that
think I think that's what everybody thought
Yeah.
because nobody
yeah,
went back after the fact. Maybe doing it a little bit later, I guess.
Hmm.
we had to do it for schedule purposes, but I think that
Maybe worked our
if
schedule
we
a
could
little
have
bit
done
better.
it differently, we just would have done it with maybe like a small group of people that just would have stayed, or I don't know, because it just kind of sealed in the night
Yeah,
after that.
yeah,
So
it was kind of done. I
So,
know this
so,
is kind of. I'll go
so
for
thinking
it.
about it, you would have rather like done an actual exit at the end of the night with a smaller group of people versus doing a mock exit and then everyone leaving
yeah,
together.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's one of
know.
the drawbacks of a mock exit is like people
yeah,
think that okay, it's time to go, but like no, like you got like 2 hours left of the venue
yeah,
and
Still,
stuff, like
yeah.
party.
yeah.
So
And even if you say it's not over, I mean, it's just the it's just the implied vibe. I guess people think it's over. No, whatever.
yeah. And so let's see, I think we had the third one, which I know you kind of touched on, um, but I'm gonna ask it anyways, just in case you want to touch on it again, or if you have any other tips. But what would your biggest tip be? So like just
Oh, I got
there's
lots of
there,
tips.
yeah, as many as you want. There's a bride planning her wedding day, and she's like, I have no idea where to begin, which you were probably just like that. What would be
Yeah,
your
I
tip or
felt
tips to
lost.
her?
Yeah. So, one thing I kept hearing throughout the whole process was tradition. And, this is tradition and this is traditional, or, you
The
know,
way the
um,
way it should be.
do you really want to do a 3:30 ceremony? People are going to eat dinner at 4:30. Do you really want that? And so, it just little details like that kind of seemed like it was for, obviously everyone says your wedding is for other people, but I really wanted to make it, still for us. And so my advice would be is to just not listen to that and go against the grain, and it's your wedding day, like no matter what, like people will tell you traditionally this is what is traditionally done, but just do what you want to do, make it how you want it to be, because it's your day and you're the one that's going to be going back and looking at it. So I guess just don't be afraid to be non-traditional.
Yeah, I
It's
love that.
okay. Yeah.
Cody, you have any tips for the grooms?
Um, Learn to say yes. You know, support her. Be there. You know, for her at every step because it's very stressful from beginning to end. From the minute that you propose to the minute you say I do, there's always some sort of planning going on, and a lot of it falls on her. And if you have a planner that helps, but it's still a lot,
Hmm.
that fell on her plate. Uh, Looking back, there were like little things, and it'd be like, oh yeah, I kind of missed that detail. It's like, wish I would have, might have paid a little bit more attention to a few little smaller, finer details. But I know I think that's partially my
It's a guy
it's
thing.
yeah, it could be a guy thing. I think it's partially my personality. I'm like,
Yes.
very laid
It's
back, but
easy.
like, yeah, I think that just support. It sounds
Give your
very
input.
generic, but like, yeah, just cherish the moments throughout the day as much as you possibly can. I mean, I know that when we got our food, we like right after the ceremony, we got to grab our food and go take like a small, like little break to ourselves. But other than that, that was it. It was just one thing after the other, and I wish I would have stopped and just kind of savored moments a little bit more.
Yeah.
But just because it was such a long day, and those moments kind of run together. So, but that's why we have a wonderful video to go back and watch and remind us of those.
Exactly. That's
So,
what the photos and video are for.
what is for?
Yeah, and that's honestly, you couldn't have picked a better photographer. Like I love their process on the day too. Is just very
Yeah.
kind of like fly on the wall, like just capturing the moments, which is very much like what I'm kind of doing now.
Yeah.
And just I think that I don't think I've seen like many. I need to message Asher because I don't know if I ever got the wedding gallery. But I want to see more wedding photos of y'all's because like I saw
Yeah.
what was
I'll
posted on
send it to you.
Instagram, but
Got it.
yeah, you're right. I mean, of course, what do they say? Hindsight's 2020. Like you can say that you wish you were more present for the moments and stuff, but yeah, it's a wedding day. There's a schedule. Like it's easy for it to kind of run together. Um,
Hmm.
but those small moments like eating dinner together, like that's something that a lot of couples don't think about doing. That is a big thing because otherwise you wouldn't. That's just one less moment you would have had, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that was my thing with the first look. That's what I always encourage brides to do the first look because I get the the big
Tradition.
ensemble with seeing your bride walk down the aisle. I get that. I do. Every girl wants that. Every girl wants to feel that. But after the day is done, like we would have never had that moment together at
Mm.
all. Like at all.
Yeah,
So not if we didn't do the first look, it really would have set the tone differently. So
yeah. I mean, and
do a first look.
yeah, like scheduling pros aside, too. Like I like to advocate for first looks, mostly because like those moments you got to spend together right after the first look, like you can't do that during a ceremony. You're down the aisle and then you're straight into like all the formalities.
Yeah. There's just
Um,
you just can't.
yeah, and it seems like the biggest thing is like brides are like, oh, I don't want him to, you know, not cry when he sees you come down the aisle. And Cody, I still use you as an example. I'm like, it still happens. Like like I've
Yeah.
seen
It,
you were
it
not the
just
only.
it happened, just not to a lesser degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still a
Yeah.
thing. I
yeah.
think and yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Cody, you're not the only guy, but like almost every almost every groom that does cry at some point, like it doesn't matter if you do a first look or not. Like that's just they love their
Yeah.
wife and they're gonna like let that out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's typically just the biggest kind of um, thing against first looks that I hear. And so for me,
Yeah.
the pro of having those moments together is much more
Yes.
important than like kind of worrying about that. But
Yes.
and that was honestly probably like my favorite moment of the wedding video too. Is like not just the first look, but just like seeing all your bridesmaids in the window, like looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
love that
know.
too.
That was
Like,
cute. Yeah. That
and
was
so
yeah. That was special.
yeah, and so we went over, your favorite moments from the wedding day, what you loved, what you kind of wish you would have done differently. But let's talk real quick because I know like we're kind of running out of time now. But your wedding film, what was and I do want to hear like your individual answers for this one. But what was your most favorite part of the wedding film?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, again, I told you in the beginning that I was hesitant for us to speak and all these things. And then if you didn't put that in, though, it would have been a totally different video and just it wouldn't have resonated with the vibe of the day. So, again, like, you knew that that was something that should have been included. And, like, that just, when I watch it and when anyone else watches, they're like, oh my God. And it's just like a lot, but it's just so like, yeah, like it's just so sweet and special. And um, I just don't think that you could have been able to reflect on the day without that beginning point. Um, but then aside from that, the music was obviously perfect. I love the build up with it. And the effects you included in were obviously super cool. Like, um, I don't know what you call them, but um, you did like it was like an old movie screen or something. Like
Oh yeah.
the cinematography, I don't know. You did so well with your effects. Um, I don't know. The whole thing was just so good. Um,
In other words, 10 out of 5 stars
10
from
out of 5. So
from
I remember, yeah, I
from,
remember.
from, from both of us.
I
Uh,
still remember your Google review, Cody. I think you mentioned like if you could give like 15 stars, you would.
Probably,
yeah,
yeah. As many as I possibly could, I would. Um, I mean, for me, it's a lot of the same. Um, we didn't expect our what we said at the first look, to be a part of the video. I again, like,
I didn't even go
I don't,
over it. That was the first time I read it.
I don't know that anybody likes hearing their voice, but I really dislike hearing my voice. But I actually could tolerate it at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
So, but I'm so glad that we got that in there. That really did. It was kind of the setting off point of the video, set the tone, and then you captured the entire day, beginning to end, just perfect. I mean, I could probably play the video over in my head, and that's every high point of the night is what you captured, and that's something I'm very thankful for. Just you
yeah.
all around, you got everything we wanted.
You also told our story. I know a girl right now also um, who's planning a wedding, and she really, actually, she spoke with you, Becky. She really wanted emphasis on not just the day itself, but who they were, and you obviously incorporated that with our pictures and um, kind of our like background story, and so that was special. Like you started out with when he first texted me in 2013. So I mean, that's just different and unique. It was like our background. So
Yeah, and I thought that's the direction you were going. You're mentioning the effects I use.
yeah,
With like those texting moments because that was like I kind of remember and I think I ended up kind of telling you what I was doing, but like I wanted to surprise you, but I realized like I was asking for a lot. I'm like, hey, what did he say, 7 years ago?
yeah,
And so it's kind of finding a balance between like trying to surprise you guys with like tying that in, but also like getting the information to use. And
yeah.
so thank you so much for like working with me on that, but also giving me that creative freedom.
It was just so good. Like it was just so good.
Yeah, and again, it wouldn't have it would have came out probably completely different had you not given me that creative freedom, and I can't thank you enough for doing that because I think it definitely worked out.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
your
awesome. Well,
skills came to play.
yeah, thank you. Definitely that was a lot of new things I tried on that video as far as like the texting and using some of those Super
Yeah,
8 effects and stuff like that, and it definitely kind of like gave me the confidence to continue doing that for other films too. So
yeah. The cinematography effects. What I was kind of mentioning was like at the reception where we were, I guess, doing our first dance or something. It was
yeah, there's
how
like
you did
flashing.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
That was
that
good.
was. Oh man, that was a beautiful shot. That lamp. Pro
Yeah,
pros to that lamp or whatever the word is. Props to the lamp for the great lighting.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, sure. The
yeah,
light
that was
bulb,
amazing with
whatever.
you guys
Yeah.
underneath that, and then yeah, the flashing and just the music. Yeah, I think the music just really helped tie it all together.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah, couldn't have picked a perfect song.